Hi, welcome back, class. Today you're going to learn all about sequence of events. So today you're going to learn about what sequence of events is, why it's so important, and how it helps readers better understand a story. So you guys really loved the story, The Three Little Narwhals. And since we're not in person today, anytime I ask you guys a question, I want you to give your answer to the big bad shark. All right, so my first question for you is, what is sequence of events? So I want you to use your brain and take a minute and think for a second and then give your answer to the big bad shark. So what is sequence of events? What do you think? I think that sequence of events is the order that things or events happen in our story. Is that what you thought? Do you agree? Yes? Good. All right, let's keep going and we'll learn more about it. Why is sequence of events so important? Well, what happens to a story if the sequence of events is out of order? Well, let's think about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Yes, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So let's look at this picture right here. It tells us the steps for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But what happens if the steps are all out of order? What happens if our first step was to eat our peanut butter and jelly sandwich and take a bite out of it? Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Does that make sense as our first step? No. How can you take a bite out of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if you haven't even made it yet? What if our second step was to then go get out the bread? Why would the second step be to go get out the bread if your first step was to eat the sandwich? Does that make sense? Thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think? Thumbs down. It doesn't make sense. So authors have sequenced the events in the story in sequence of events because the story doesn't make sense if the events aren't in a certain order. The readers would be very, very confused reading the story if the author didn't use sequence of events. That's why it's so important. So today I brought back our favorite story, The Three Little Narwhals, and we're going to take the events that happen in this story and use sequence of events to put them in the right order. And I think we can do it. So let's see. So when doing sequence of events, we have something called temporal words. And temporal words are these words right here. First, next, then, and last. And temporal words are like fancy way of saying first, second, third, and fourth. And over here, I took our 4 main events from our story, and then I used a lot of little details to build them up. And we're going to read through them, and we're going to put them in the correct order for sequence of events. Let's see if we can do it. All right, let's see. Let's start with purple up here. It says a big bad shark heard Spike singing and came and ate Spike's house. He escaped and went to his sister Spiral's house for a sleepover. Do we think this happened for first or next? Give me 1 finger for first, 2 fingers for next. What do you think? I think 2. I don't think that's how our story started. I think it was what happened next as our second event. All right, let's look at this pretty magenta down here. Stubby's house was not pretty at all, but it was all they had. They sang once again, and the big bad shark heard them and came for a meal. He tried to eat through the house, but the metal was so hard he lost all his teeth. The narwhal siblings decided to build a better, stronger house together to keep the sharks out. Tell me, do you think this was 1, first, or 2, the last thing that happened in our story? 1 first or 2 last? What do you think? I think it was 2. That's not how our story started. It was how our story ended. They built a new house for all of them. Remember, they called it their mansion. All right, let's see. Let's look at this red up here, this pretty red. The big bad shark spotted Spiral's house because of the pink decoration. He was hungry and mad now. He ate his way through Spiral's house, so off they swam to Stubby's house to get away. Do you think this is first, or then, which is our third thing that happened? First or then? Is it how our story started, or do we think it came after our second event? What do you think? First or then? I think it's then. It's not how our story started, but it did happen after what happened in our purple. All right, let's read how our story started. It's our box that's left. A pirate ship sank and 3 narwhal siblings started to build the best houses from parts of the ship. Spike took all the ropes and sails, Spiral took all the wood, and that left Stubby with all the boring metal. This is how our story started. It is the first event. Look at that. We finished our sequence of events, and if we wrote these in and we read it, it would make sense, which means we did it correctly. All right, friends, so for the end of our lesson, our exit ticket, I want to do a 6-word summary. I want you to think of 6 words of what you learned today, of what today made you think of, and I want you on Monday to come with your 6 words about what you learned from today's lesson, and you're going to share them with the class, okay? So thank you for coming to class today. I'll see you all on Monday.